Another day, another set of Star Wars 2nd Edition spoilers. Greetings all, this is Hairy Nick. And yes, once again we have some more Star Wars X-Wing 2nd Edition spoilers to talk about. But today's one is quite significant. This is Lando's Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon as depicted in the Solo movie. Now before we jump into this article and talk about these cards, spoiler alert, yes, I am going to talk about the movie. I'm sorry to anyone who hasn't seen it, but frankly there is just way too much flavour tied in these cards, which relate back to the plot of the movie, and I was considering making sections of this video spoiler and non-spoiler, but it's just too entrenched with what these cards are doing. So if you do care about spoilers and you haven't seen the movie, I do recommend that you save this video for later on, and I do recommend that you watch the movie. It's quite good actually. And without further ado, let's dive down to the spread and take a look at what we have here. Okay, and here we have it. Now, it is worth noting that, yes, this is not the same modified YT 1300 freighter that's on the Rebel Alliance faction. This is an upgraded YT 1300, so the stats are going to be a bit different. First of all, looking at this spread, don't panic. I know that dial looks terrible. That is not the dial for the Falcon. The dial for the Falcon is on the left-hand side, face down. The dial you see there is actually for the escape pod, which is that attachment in the front of the nose of the YT 1300, which is not present on the Rebel version of it because it was destroyed during the Kessel Run. And just like any other ships we've seen so far with escape crafts, it does have its separate pilot cards, which we can see here. But before we go on to that, let's start on the top of the spread with Lando Calrissian. After you roll dice, if you are not stressed, you may gain 1 stress token to reroll all of your blank results. And I gotta say, I don't know how good this ability is going to be. Obviously, I've fawned over the new Rebel version of Lando Calrissian in 2.0. That looks amazing. This version of Lando, I'm not sure. It's an initiative lower, and also the Falcon doesn't have 3 red dice anymore. It only has 2, so it's not really slinging a lot of dice, so rerolling all your blank results isn't that powerful compared to what it might do in other ships. Having said that, yes, it might arguably be a bit too powerful if there was 3 red dice, so I can understand why FFG might be apprehensive to give that ability on the original Falcon. But it's an interesting bit of insurance nonetheless, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not there is any ways in moving forward to give the Falcon more dice on offense or defense. Now on the face of it, it would look like, hey, this works great with the Falcon title, but actually you have to remember, the Millennium Falcon title that we have seen so far is a Rebel only card. So even if you do want to fly close to rocks and try and get more dice, no, it doesn't work with this version of Lando because this is a scum card. However, we do know that this ship will come with a new title because of that quick build card. Lando's Millennium Falcon title is a card that's going to come with it. We haven't had that revealed in this article, but we do know that's going to come. It'll be interesting to see whether or not that works with Lando. Actually, just while we have the Lando card up, I do want to point out the stat changes to this ship. As previously mentioned, it is a different version of the YT 1300. We have lost 1 red dice and 2 shield. Apart from that, left unchecked. But I do want to point out, yes, it does have 1 less red dice, and I think that's going to lead to a pretty severe drop in the points. The extra red dice on a dual turreted ship is really, really potent, especially when we can give it gunners and give it the ability to double tap. So yes, I think this is going to be much cheaper than its Rebel counterpart. Also pictured here is the L337. This is a pilot for the escape craft, L3 being Lando's personal droid. And if you have looked at the baked-in ability of this ship, it actually gives its carrier ship the same pilot ability, which says to me that these guys aren't going to have anything too crazy on their pilot abilities. But nonetheless, L337, something not shielded, decrease the difficulty of your bank maneuvers. I'm going to guess that says while you are not shielded, decrease the difficulty of your bank maneuvers. That'd make a lot of sense. Seems to play around with the enhancement L3 offers to the ship. Of course, yes, in the movie, L3 is very important in the way she interacts with the ship and helps it maneuver through the Kessel Run. So that's a really good flavor match there. And I like how this card actually interacts with the Falcon and gives it more potency. I don't know whether this is meant to represent L3's memory chip being put into the Falcon in order to integrate her with the ship. It could be that might be represented through an upgrade card. We'll see what happens there. But at the very least, the escape craft looks cool, and I like the potential it might have. Again, nothing else revealed in terms of other cards. Maybe this is going to be the only card for that ship that we have, but we will see. It's also worth noting that mentioned elsewhere in the article, it does specifically say the miniature deattaches from the Falcon, which is really, really awesome. When X-Wing 2.0 was announced and they were talking about doing resculpts, I was thinking mainly about the Ghost Ghost back then, and whether or not that's going to have the undockable Phantom. Now we know it's going to happen with the Falcon, so fingers crossed the Ghost gets the same kind of upgrade. Moving across to the quick build card, as previously stated, it does tell us that there is going to be a new title for this, Red Cargo Chute, which has also been revealed in this article, and Tactical Scrambler, one of the new modifications. Given what we know about these quick build cards, they do generally seem to give you builds that use upgrade cards and pilot cards that come out of the pack. So on that basis alone, we should expect to see all these upgrade cards bundled in here. We have the character cards for Han Solo and Chewbacca. Chewbacca we don't really see revealed. It looks like at the start of the end phase, you may spend a focus token to repair a face-up damage card. That seems really, really potent. That indicates to me that Chewbacca is going to be quite expensive because repeatable repairing is a very potent thing in the game of X-Wing. Makes a lot of sense for Chewbacca. The Rebel version of the card also repairs face-up damage cards, but that occurs at the start of the engagement phase, where this is talking about the end phase. So it wants to interact with things that give your ship focus tokens, like, say, the gunner version of Han Solo for the Scum faction. Before you engage, you may perform a red focus action, and this is really, really cool. Out of everything else in this pack, this has really got my mind going in terms of the brewing potential with this card. The ability to generate focus tokens on a ship without having to spend actions is pretty big. Now, I will say, yes, there are some caveats on this. This card specifically says before you engage, and I'm going to guess what that means is when your ship activates during the engagement phase. Before you engage is actually new terminology for X-Wing 2nd Edition, and I'm going to guess it's about activating during the engagement phase. It doesn't say whether that could also possibly mean when your ship defends, but seeing as how we're using the term engage, I'm going to guess not. Also, Han is in the gunner slot, and yes, I know the gunner slot is a powerhouse slot in the game of X-Wing. It's the slot where you put in cards that give your ships the ability to take 2 attacks, and that's very potent. So if you take Han Solo, you're giving up that ability. But I don't know, taking focus tokens for free is pretty potent. And it does have the obvious combination with Chewbacca. I will say I love the fact that it's a complete nombo with Lando Calrissian. Again, we're talking about flavor. The fact that Lando and Han don't work well together is really cool. Basically, if Han executes that red focus maneuver, Lando cannot get his reroll. So I love the flavor match there. I think that's really beautiful how they did that. But in terms of elsewhere where Han's very useful, I'm looking particularly at Boba Fett and the Fire Spray. We know that this ship and this pilot's getting a nice buff. The ship can get access to the gunner through the Marauder card, and if Boba Fett manages to be the brawler he was always trying to be, getting focus tokens as he engaged just seems really powerful. He's playing around with 3 red dice, 2 green dice, and the ability to have a reroll on both of those sets of dice for every enemy he's touching or at range 1. You're gonna see a lot of focus results, and that makes Han Solo very desirable. It also means Boba Fett can take boost actions without worrying too much about how to defend himself. As long as he gets into range 1, he can still cheat on focus tokens for attacks, and if need be, he can use them on defense as well. I just get the impression that Han Solo and Boba Fett's going to be great. We just have to wait and see whether the combination of these cards is going to be cost effective. Obviously, we don't know that just yet. However, I will say I'm pretty confident that Han Solo is going to be much cheaper than most gunners because he does not give you the ability to double tap like other gunners do. Okay, moving back over to the spread, we also have what I assume is going to be a crew version of Kira. Can't really see what's going on with this card. Something about perform attacks or something at you. I don't know. We'll see what this is later on when we get a bit more revealed. We have the dial here for the shuttle. Nothing really special. Flies a bit like a brick, but I think the real value in the escape shuttle is going to be giving the Falcon those pilot abilities. Last but not least, we do have one more card that was not in the spread. This is Tobias Beckett. Yes, Woody Harrelson himself. Setup. After placing forces, you may choose one obstacle in the play area. If you do, place it anywhere in the play area beyond range 2 of any board edge and beyond range 1 of any other obstacle. In other words, after all the obstacles are placed, you can legally replace one of those. Cool, makes perfect sense. Before anything else, I just want to mention I love the fact that there's a downed AT-ST behind him in the art. With the grenade launcher we see in Star Wars Legion, a nice bit of cross-promotion there from FFG, and a great shot of Beckett there with his stolen Imperial armor on. But in terms of application for this card, I'm not really sure what to make of it. It's kind of playing around with the same kind of space as the old Force Awakens Han Solo did, where you can mess around with the setup. Indeed, it sort of combos with the Boba Fett crew card, except sort of not. You could theoretically use Tobias Beckett to replace a rock, then deploy on that rock with Boba Fett. I don't think that's going to be very valuable, but it is something you can play around with nonetheless. What this really strikes me as having value with is the Jumpmaster. Now, I know the Jumpmaster's taken a pretty massive nerf, but it still has that asymmetric dial. And if Jumpmasters function anyway like they used to in X-Wing version 1, your opponent can stuff you up by putting blocks in the bottom right-hand corner of the board and making it difficult for you to turn the Jumpmasters in. Tobias Beckett at least allows you to counter that by picking up one of those rocks and placing it elsewhere. Also, if you're flying aces and you want to have a nice tight-knit group of rocks and your opponent tries to spread them out, you can again counter that. So that seems pretty good. It just seems like it's a very difficult thing to predict going into a tournament, and I don't know how many bad matchups and rock placements Tobias is going to be able to play around with to give you some real serious value, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. But an interesting support card, and I at least like the design space of playing around with the setup of a game, so that's cool nonetheless. And that's everything we have revealed with the Falcon, and at the bottom of the article we have confirmed this is going to be released on September 13th alongside Wave 1 of X-Wing 2.0. So this is nice, the Scum faction's got quite a leg up here. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the Imperial faction gets that TIE fighter we saw in the Solo movie as well, which just looks like a basic TIE fighter with a cannon strapped on the side of it. That'll be cool to see. In the meantime, guys, tell me what you think of this. Let's brew up some ideas and have a think about how we can apply the Millennium Falcon into the Scum faction. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. Like me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and I will catch you guys later.